All right. We are pleased to be joined by Donny Sands. He was eighth round selection, the 243rd overall pick by the New York Yankees out of Sal Point Catholic High School in the 2015 Major League Baseball draft. Traded to the Philadelphia Phillies on November 19th of 2021. And you, sir, made your Major League debut for the Phillies on September 2nd of this season. Against the San Francisco Giants. And let's just go ahead and start there, dude. We can work our way back and talk about your story, but what was it like when you finally made your big league debut, when you got that call, and then when you showed up at Oracle Park, your name's on the locker, you got a jersey hanging there, you made it to the show. What was it all like? And now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect on that, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Cam, always good to see you, my dog. And bro, honestly, now that I have had some time to sit back and actually chill and see, like you said, what has gone on and, everything that happened, it was honestly surreal. I was just sitting, we were in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was kind of funny, like I had been having a good year this year coming up to, and, being on the 40-man, I got put on by the Yankees and then traded to the Phillies. So I knew that the time was coming close. And then it's like nearing the end of the year. So you start getting a little, I don't know if fancy is the right word, but a little pressure that you want to get up there, especially you're doing well. And I had a talk with one of my mentors back home, actually August 31st. And we had a FaceTime probably at midnight. And we were talking and, a lot of emotions going of just like, whenever the time's going to be, the time will be right, and to not get down and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And then I think literally I'm laying in bed 2 hours later and it's 1:30 in the morning. And then I get a phone call from our GM. And when I saw his name, it's like, I almost didn't even want to answer the phone. Like I didn't even think it was real. I knew what the call was.
Right.
And then, yeah, dude, all of a sudden you go from being at you go from being in like a La Quinta in Norfolk, Virginia, to like on a first class flight across the country to San Francisco. And yeah, man, it's just absurd. It's unreal. Especially, you've known me, dude, for a majority of my life, and you work hard and you expect things to happen for sure. It's not a surprise, because I've put in all that work for this to happen, but then for it actually to happen, to get that call, there is like a surreal moment. And then, man, it's just been a roller coaster.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, dude, but it's so awesome that you got that opportunity and that like it finally paid off, right? We're talking about all the hard work and the, trust the process. Everybody can say trust the process, but to actually be there and be in the grind and do it, and for that to finally pay off and you to kind of, and by no means are you at the end of the road yet, but it's one of those things that is the first step on your next sort of goals and accomplishments that you want to have for your career, right? Is to make that 100%. First step by getting into the bigs. So, and I was lucky enough to be there at, for that weekend that you debuted in San Fran, man. It was so awesome. You got a great support staff around you. And for the listeners, a little bit of background on Donnie and I's relationship. We grew up playing ball together for a long time. Basically grew up together. Donnie's late father, Roger, was our coach for a majority of that period. And so that's how we know each other. And that's kind of where our relationship stems from. And, just happy to see you, have that payoff, man. And so let's talk a little bit more though about your about kind of the grind, because like I said, you know, dude, it's one thing for people to sit from the sidelines and say, you know, trust the process and keep your nose to the grindstone and stuff. But when you're clawing your way up through minor league baseball, and then you have the pandemic season on top of it, you know, kind of just walk me through like just how much of a grind the minor league system was, and kind of how you got to the top.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to try to be as raw and as pure as possible about saying this. Dude, the minor leagues, you just like get kicked in the teeth a lot of times. You know, you're getting kicked in the teeth, as I'm saying. And that's how I would describe the minor leagues, you know, especially professional baseball was such a competitive, intense, political, like there's a lot of things, you know, that go on in minor league baseball that there's people signed, and as you know, first rounds for a lot of money that get more chances, late round guys that have to prove themselves, guys in the middle that you know, just have to grind. And again, like, you know, my story, I was a third baseman, shortstop, and then I got converted to catching.
Right.
In the like you go to the hardest position on the field in already the hardest atmosphere of professional baseball. So it was a super tough thing. Thank God. I think just being born, I've always had the attitude of like, you know, up for any challenge, and the, you know, the resiliency. So that's what I looked forward to. But yeah, man, it's a grind. It's so many years of uncertainty. And then just thinking of, I would say this, why the game's a frustrating game. It's because you can put, let's say, your whole life into it, grind as hard as you can, put everything, and then the game doesn't owe you anything. So just because you put in all this time, it's not securing you're going to go to the big leagues, or you're going to go, you know, and so you can't let that creep in your head. So it's just a frustrating thing at some point. But yeah, man. And going up through the levels, I think it was 7 years, 2015, to finally get a lot of injuries. You know, you go through repeated levels, you're learning a lot. And it's just a lot of long years, not a lot of off time, a lot of training in the off season, because you're pushing for this one goal, man, to get that call. And then, like you said, for it to finally happen, man, it's like I'm speechless, to be just honest with you.
Do you think that there was any like one thing in particular that changed from when you first started your professional career to the time that you made your big league debut? Like what do you think was the biggest thing that changed for you? And like, how, is there any one thing that you can look at and say, like, that's where I figured it out and that's where I got here now?
Yeah. I mean, there's like in life, to me, I mean, you knew my dad really well, so I had a really good foundation of like, you know, being resilient and, you know, hard-headed, and like, you know, never not being like soft-minded, you know, always like having this like never quit mentality, right? But then so you take that into baseball, and like, I mean, I always say it's the people that honestly believed in me and sucked their neck out for me. It wasn't necessarily one thing I did, but it was probably the people that believed in me. Like a guy, I mean, name a few guys, guy Josh Paul, who was our catching coordinator at the time, who I think stood in a room full of a ton of front office people in the Yankees and said, "Hey, I don't know what I see, but I think this kid's going to be a major league catcher one day." And I think a lot of people told him he was crazy, and almost cost him his job. But, you know, guys that actually stick out for you, a guy who's one of our catching coaches on the big league team, Hector Rabago, who, again, when you're at your worst and you suck, and which I sucked when I first started, I'll say that very, like, I was one of the worst catchers probably anyone had ever seen professionally. And the people stick there for you, and they're like, there's gonna be something there, like, but you just got to work your ass off. Guys like that. So, and just learning, man, like managers, Julio Mosquera, just people that have been in the game, that understand the frustrations. like I say, yeah, it wasn't certainly something I did, because
Yeah.
I do believe I always had the talent and I always had the work ethic. And at some point, as you can be as good as you want or whatever, but you just need the break. Like, you just need to get your chance. And that's a lot of the time you see in baseball. It's not necessarily always the best guy, or it's like, dude, whenever the timing's right,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And it kind of all just
you
clicks. Yeah.
yeah, man, it's just God's timing's different for everybody. So, I start not getting called up. It's just like, and then the other guys, let's just say, struggling, hitting 200, but two guys get hurt, and all of a sudden they're in the big leagues the whole year. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
baseball is a weird game like that. If it's not necessarily always the best guy, best time, but that's why you just got to stay super focused. And it's like, dude, when it's your time, it's going to be your time.
Yeah.
And just keep going forward. But yeah, I think it was just the people that believed in me. Professional baseball is such a mentally grinding thing. That's probably, it's not even the physically, it's just the mental grind, dude. If you're away for so much time, and if you have a good support system, good friends, dude, good people that have you just keep going forward, that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I think that, minor league baseball and like the process of becoming a major league baseball player is so much different than in any other sport, right? You have to prove yourself. Like, those are the proving grounds, and so
it's
many,
unbelievable.
yeah, so many people break through that process. You know what I mean? And like, so many guys in your position, battling for 7 years, some people have doubts and they might just call it. So it's an
No, for
incredible,
sure. And too, like, where you're not, you're not making all that money too, and it's kind of fun. People
right.
see it's like they're going through years after year, and they're like, dude, I could be making some real money otherwise, But to me, it was never really that. It was the dream and the love of like, dude, I'm gonna get there. And again, too, baseball's such a, like you said, what have you done for me lately sport. So like, you literally have to, like, you could have a great year, and then it's okay, you have to have another great year to get another great year, because you're one bad year away from, you're going home, So just proving yourself every year.
Yeah. Oh no, seriously, man. It's yeah, you're right. It's every single year when you're in that system, I'm sure you gotta prove yourself. You know what I mean? It's what you done for me lately. So I want to talk specifically though about that pandemic year in 2020, that, the season gets canceled for minor league baseball. What the hell was going through your mind? What the hell were you doing during that time? And I want to note that I think that you came out of that year where you didn't play a single game for a full year. You came out of that as your best professional you played the best ball that you had in your professional career up to that point, coming out of that year. And I feel like that was a difference maker for a lot of guys, because that season, taking a year off of baseball is not fucking easy, dude. And so people, a lot of guys couldn't make it through that. So what did you do, and what was kind of your going through your mind during that time?
Yeah, I've never really talked about that. And that's like, Brian's right next to me, and we talked about this, but COVID, to me, and I say this very respectfully to the people that, had stuff happen to them or family members, was probably the biggest blessing in disguise that had ever happened in my professional career. I worked hard. So this is like the timeline. I worked hard that off season before COVID was the thing, going into, what was it, 2020?
Right.
Yeah.
2020,
so
yeah.
Going into 2020, and like, again, just telling you the things that happened, I was expecting to get invited to Major League spring training by the Yankees.
Yeah.
I don't get invited to big league camp. And so I'm like, as you know me, I'm the type, like, dude, that's just more fuel to the fire, right? So I come into camp, and it gets snipped. And I went home one day off of, it was every single day of working out, hitting 3-4 times a day, hitting at 2 a.m. When we were in California, guy, Lennis's cage, me and Brian, we were looking at videos the other day. We were hitting at 2-3 in the morning off of, dude, It was like this nonstop like whenever this is going to end, whenever this, because the pandemic will end at some point, if it's tomorrow, if it's, because I just heard a lot of people saying, oh, well, I'm going to sit back and relax. I told myself, this is going to be the either breaking point or making point that you're going to be a big league player. Like, seriously, it was a very big moment in my career too, because as you know, I mean, you're a baseball fan. During COVID, they had the spring training 2.0 where they invited guys. I was not one of those guys invited.
Right.
And so I remember I was literally making like a drywall for my aunt, like laying concrete in her house. And I got this call saying I wasn't getting invited to this thing. And dude, it just made me like, again, work so focused and intense on what I knew I was going to do coming out of COVID. And then, so COVID's over, right? COVID comes over. I'm ready to go. Now it's 2021 and I don't get invited to big league camp again.
Yep.
Right. So then I'm in spring training and minor league camp. I think the thing was I went like 20 for 25 with 7 homers in minor league spring training.
Yeah. You raked.
And then everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And I go to AA, and then history. I mean, I think altogether that year spring I hit like 28 home runs, dude, like 270, and I got put on the major league roster. So it was again, I always say this, dude, everyone has choices in their life, like make or break forks in the road, where you pick one way and stuff can go a lot different. And that COVID, dude, was, again, I spent a lot of time with my mom, a lot of time with family, and it was just a super motivating time for me. And like, again, we took full advantage of it.
Yeah, that's so crazy, dude, because it is, and it was a make or break point in your career and so many other guys' careers too. Like, and it
was my free agent year in the minor leagues. It was year 7. So it was like, either like I knew what I hadn't played.
You knew it was at stake.
Like, and I said, it's time to turn it up here.
And you took matters into your own hands.
Yeah, you got to just force people to make,
dude,
to do things.
Honestly, that's sick. And like I said, it's crazy because I can't imagine, because missing a full year of baseball like is no joke. And then you have to step back in and be expected to perform right away, against professional caliber pitching again, as soon as you come back. So the work that you put in during that time is obviously evident, so.
It was crazy. My first live at bat after COVID in spring training was a home run. My first at bat. And I was like, here we go.
Yep. So that season ends, right? You have a great year in the minors for the Yankees, and then off season rolls around. You get traded in November of last year, about a year ago, almost a year ago to the day now. What was kind of going through your mind during that time? You had just mentioned, you got added to the big league roster for the New York Yankees, and then a short time after that, they traded you, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I got added, it was like probably sickest day of my life when I got added to the 40-man for the Yankees. Yeah. Like I still remember the deadline day of like when they had to add me, I was going to be a free agent. Regardless, I knew I was going to have good opportunities because what I had done that year, I was going to go to some team. But, everyone was saying, I remember talking to my agent and telling, well, after this year, you can make some good money as a free agent. people start making 25, 30 grand. And I was like, I don't want that. I want to be on the 40-man. Like, I want to be on that major league roster because that's where you can go to the big leagues, And dude, it's like down to the final day. I'm in LA, and I think there's like an hour left. And I'm downstairs and Brian's upstairs, and all of a sudden my phone starts ringing. I remember he was like, "Hey, Brian, some guy Brian Cashman's calling me." And so I sprint up, answer the phone, dude, and then like again, I just start crying, dude. And me and Brian like fall to the bed crying together, dude. And you're a major league player, dude, for the most historic sports team ever. Like not a lot of people get to say they were added to the major league roster for the Yankees.
Right.
And then I'm walking in a mall in LA, and I see my phone ring. It's Brian Cashman, and either said this is really good or not so good. I don't know why Brian Cashman's calling me again in a week. And then it was super short. He said, "Hey Donnie, think you're going to have a great opportunity. Congrats. You've been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies." And I had no clue. I think he asked me, "Hey, do you have any questions?" And I was just silent. And, he goes, I think Dave Dombrowski, our president, GM will be getting in contact with you. All the Phillies guys will be getting in contact with you. And then literally 2 minutes later, every Philly staff started calling me from, I think got a call at the time. Joe Girardi was our manager. So Everyone starts calling me, dude. And I was like in shock, I was like, what just happened? I'm on the Phillies now, I guess. So it was it was super weird. But
kind of a whirlwind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you transition into the Phillies organization, right? And it sounds like they embraced you, and obviously it worked out well for you because you ended up making your major league debut this season. And is there any huge differences that you noticed between the two organizations, like the way they're operated or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like anything, any organization, not even necessarily baseball, any job, they have their own way about going things, their own what they think is important, that's in any job, or certain standards and stuff like that. No, but I mean, I've nothing but good things to say about the Yankees and the Phillies. I mean, the Phillies were awesome. Like I said, as soon as I I got traded over, I had every single person literally in 5 minutes call me, from the GM, the president, like Joe Girardi, our hitting coach, Kevin. It was like everybody, every training staff guy, clubhouse guy was like, "Hey, Don, we're super excited to have you. Like, can't wait to see you in spring training."
Yeah.
And then the lockout happens like 2 days later.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
so then I literally can't talk to anybody. So
yeah.
It was it was a crazy time.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And then you proceeded to absolutely rake again in minor league ball this year and got your opportunity in the bigs. And like I mentioned, got called up to the show in September and made your debut. And now looking forward for you, what's kind of your mentality and your mindset going into this offseason as you prepare to take the next step with your big league career?
Yeah, man. It was always, the hardest thing people always say, it's just getting your foot in the door.
Yep.
Like you got to, like, you're respected now. You know what I'm saying? Even like you can have a lot of great minor league seasons, as you know, and you can hit 400, 380, but until you get there's a difference of doing that on, okay, he got to the big leagues, you're like looked at differently, and especially to other teams and whoever. But getting that taste, man, that team, I told people when we were in spring training, that was my first big league camp, and getting those guys in the meetings we were in. And it was kind of funny. I was telling a lot of people like, "Hey man, the Phillies are going to go to the World Series." And I'm saying this in February. I felt like those E60, like Sports Center, like type meetings, and you're able to be there and getting some ABs and getting to catch the game. I mean, you were there, it makes this offseason do the next step. Like, I've worked hard, man, like every offseason, but it's going to make this offseason work like tirelessly, like because you see what that life is and what that level is. And I know I can play at that level. So yeah, man, it's going to be a super focused, intense offseason. And like I say, it's to, again, control what I can control and compete for a job and do what I can to help that team win. That's what it is, but just put myself in the best situation possible for whatever happens.
Yeah, it's like you make that debut, right? And you smell blood in the water now. It's like you got a little taste of it, but you just want more, man. You want to feast. You want to sink your teeth into that thing and just, you want to make the most of it, right? So I respect that mentality, man. It's going to be awesome to watch you going forward, and just can't wait, dude. appreciate you being so open and honest about your journey and everything, man. But it's great that you're at where you're at now, and I'm just pulling for you going forward, dude. And there's so much more in front of you, so much more for you to accomplish, and yeah, man, we'll be following you heavy. So I want to talk to you
I
now a
appreciate
little
it.
bit about let's talk about the Phillies. You already mentioned a little bit kind of where they were at, and what your thoughts of the club were when you were in spring training. But this team was still 7 games under 500 on June 2nd when they replaced Joe Girardi with Rob Thompson. And when you got to the club in September, I mean, they were kind of firmly in the playoff picture, but you kind of had a little bit of a skid there when you first joined the team. And then they got hot. Now they're arguably the hottest team in baseball. What was it like just in the clubhouse in that environment with that team, and specifically manager Rob Thompson? I mean, what do you think he's done to kind of turn that season around at that point in the year? And yeah, what is the vibes like in that clubhouse, when that team's playing well?
Yeah, man. I mean, like I say, first off, to have a special team, you need to have, and I say like a sick leader, and that's what Rob Thompson is. He has like the lowest heart rate I think I've ever seen out of a manager, and it's like when there's zero panic button, and as a
Yeah.
player, that's all you can want from a manager. It's like I still remember, like, let's just say we would have a tough game or lose a lot, or even it's just baseball. You beat teams by 20 and you'll lose by 20 the next day. So that's just baseball, knowing that. And he's been around so much championship baseball in New York and in his career. Like he would come into the clubhouse and look at me and like, and like, just give me the thumbs up and like smile and like keep going. And that as a player,
Yeah.
number one, lets you be yourself. You don't have to be on eggshells, and that's just a guy that understands what baseball is and understands the team he had. And yeah, man, he's unbelievable. And then yeah, when I went up there, I mean, I can't say enough about the whole team. The whole team was unbelievable to me. The veterans, the rookies up there. I like, again, I got to know everybody in spring, but one of the guys that, I mean, I looked up to a lot of, like, who was a super vocal guy and has been in the playoffs and been on World Series championship teams, is Kyle Schwarber, man. Like, that guy would always, we would, let's say, win, or when we were going through that tough skid, like we got swept in Atlanta, like,
Right.
we're going through this like tough skid, and he's like every time doing stuff like either getting on the mic, when we're on the bus, or like do it like, yo, let's get the music bumping. It doesn't have to be like someone just died in here. Like,
Right.
this is baseball. Like, and we're just going to compete till the end. Like, and
Yep.
he knew what that, there was never a panic button out of the, I mean, those are the leaders, of the team. And he was just awesome, keeping it so light in the clubhouse every day. Just keeping it fresh, from Castellanos, Harper, to those guys are, I mean, it's crazy, right? Being in the
Yeah.
clubhouse with these guys. Like me and you have
Yeah.
known Bryce Harper since he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when we were living in New Mexico. He's 16 years old,
Yeah.
so it's nuts. And then you see what championship baseball is. And I have never, like I said before, been in the big leagues. I haven't been on World Series teams, but being with my dad and being with a lot of good teams, I do think I know what winning looks like. And like when I was in spring, when I was telling people, dude, this team's going to be a legit team, it's because they had winners on the team. They had baseball
Yeah.
players on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, they had winning coaches. They had people that it was just like, no panic. It's baseball. Let's try to go kick everybody's ass. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's going to happen. Sometimes it's not, but no panic.
Yeah, that's great, dude. That's awesome. And it shows, the biggest moments throughout their postseason run have not phased the team at all. And you can tell that they've got excellent leadership. And then you watch a guy like Bryce Harper just absolutely tearing the cover
That
off the
guy's
ball.
sick,
And
dude.
it, dude, I mean, yeah. What are your thoughts when you see a guy like that, he's probably having the best. He's playing the best playoff baseball of his career right now, and obviously the homer on in Game 5 was massive. But like he's just been playing super well, and obviously been a leader of that team.
Yeah, dude, he's sick. I mean, like, again, I always tell, like, I like joke with him. I'm like, dude, you know who you are? Like, you're Bryce Harper, dude.
Yeah,
you know, like, let's go put the team on your back and let's go win a World Series, you know? And like, I mean, dude, he was one of the first guys when I got to the Phillies. I walk into the clubhouse and everyone knows who he is. And he like comes up to me to my locker and is like, hey man, like, great to have you. You're going to be a big part of this year.
yeah,
For a young guy like me, that pays dividends, dude. Into like getting like everybody going in the same way, you know. And
yeah,
like the night, it's kind of funny. The night I got called up to the big leagues, the
yeah,
night it's like 2 a.m. I get a call from who? Bryce
yeah,
Harper. He calls me at 2 a.m. and he's like, "Let's go, baby! Like you're joining the team." Like, dude, you don't have to do stuff like that, you know. So and then getting to work with him, dude, every day, like getting to see him hit, dude, that dude's
yeah.
a Hall of Famer already. Like he's sick. So that's why I got like it's unbelievable getting to be around those guys and just hit with them and just see how they go about it. But yeah, dude, that dude's got ice in his veins, as you saw. He's like
Yeah.
just nuts.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story of him calling you when you got called up, and you showed me the screenshot, dude. That's just insane to think about. And but yeah, he's cold.
Unbelievable.
He is cold-blooded, man. And I mean, I think that, so let's talk a little bit about the World Series matchup then, because I think that it's a fascinating matchup because it's two good pitching staffs, but the Phillies rake right-handers. They kind of have all year. I think they're putting things together offensively. It's going to be a wild one, but I mean, I think the Phillies have as good a shot as anybody. They're playing the best baseball out of anybody in the league, arguably. I mean, I know Houston hasn't lost yet this postseason, but I mean, it's tough to go against that meat of the order for the Phillies.
Yeah. Like, dude, Houston is such a good baseball team. They play like
Yeah.
such getting to watch, like being in the big leagues, excuse me, is these guys are super fundamental teams. So like Houston, like, dude, they do the little things the right way. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, like my dad was, they do like ball hit in the gap, double cut, like they're not missing. It's like to the bag. It's like little things like that you see really good baseball teams do, right? But then also, like, we were one of the last teams to go into the wild card, right? And our hitting coach, who's Kevin Long, was hitting coach of the World Series team for the Nationals in 2019 when they were the last team to get into same thing, the wild card. And I'll just say this: the playoffs, as you know, is about who's hot, dude, and who's got the mojo, and who's and our team up there is full of nuts and psychos, dude, and that love baseball. And it's like we have a group of young guys and veteran guys that are all so, and that's just a dangerous team, man. Like a super dangerous.
So
and two, we can hurt. I mean, we can hurt you 1 through 4 in the lineup, and then our guys at the back end can also hurt you. So it's just a grind, dude. The Phillies are. It's like we talked about in the clubhouse. It's like Philly type baseball. It's just like blue collar grinding baseball, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so key when it comes to postseason play. I mean, it's just like, but like you're saying, I mean, both teams play really good baseball, and it's crazy though that, like, you know, in postseason baseball, you know, you got all these teams talking about launch angle and relying on the long ball and not taking care of their pitching staff. I mean, I'm a Twins fan and they stink. They don't care about pitching. But that's what wins you ball games in the postseason. It's doing the little things. It's moving guys over. It's clutch base hits when you need it. I look at a guy like Gene Segura on the Phillies. I mean, you know, he had that critical error in Game 5, and then he comes back up or in Game 4, and then he sticks his bat out there. Great 2-strike approach, flips one into right center field, ends up being the game winner. It's like you got to have guys that do those little things and come up big when you need it with the small stuff when it comes to playoff baseball.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have like the complete team, right? Like, people always like crush the Yankees for just having like power hitters, right? Like the long ball, like, and like they crush our teams for just having speed guys. Like, We have guys
Yeah.
that can hit the ball 500 feet. We have guys that bunt. We have guys that literally like can just grind 2-strike infield hits. And we have guys that like speed guys. Dude, when Segura plays, like that guy hits balls at like 5 feet outside and we'll take it to right field. It's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable. Like some of the hits like I've never seen. That's how he's just a baseball player, dude, you know, and like even Schwarber, that guy, he has 40 plus homers, and then you'll see like the infield shifted over and he'll try to lay a bunt down to third base.
Right.
So he like we just play the game, you know, you just have a feel for the game. And I think that's why it's a deadly thing.
Yeah. And I think that, like I said, teams that do that when it comes to October, man, if you're able to be multifaceted and create offense in different ways, that's going to give yourself the best chance to win, because I mean, the pitching's just too good in October, right? Like, how are you going to rely on the long ball when you're facing?
Oh, bro, if you get your bat shattered into 7,000 pieces and it goes over the first baseman, it's a knock. It doesn't matter. You just got to find a way to get on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, dude, I'm super excited for the World Series. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. Two good ball clubs. They're playing super hot right now, you know, and let's not forget to mention that, of course, since you made your debut for the club, you're in line to get a World Series ring should the Phillies pull it off. So got to be rooting Phillies here. Hope you get some ice on your finger, brother.
I think we got cut off there, Cam.
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah, can you say one more time? Sorry.
I said, well, it's going to be an interesting series. We can't forget to mention, though, that since you made your debut for the club and we're a part of the team in September, you're in line to get yourself a World Series ring if the Phillies end up pulling it off. So got to be pulling for the Phillies, man. Hoping you get some ice on your finger, brother.
Crazy, right? Go home a world champion. I know it's nuts. I know we get I think an NLCS ring. You won the pennant, and then it's crazy. I mean, you earned to be on that team and to be up there, and then dude, hopefully the boys get it done, and then some history. You know, it's nuts.
Yeah, for sure, dude. That's just incredible, though. That's sick, man. So before we wrap it up here, and just a couple other questions to ask you. Actually, I got one final thing to ask you, and it's kind of broad baseball in general, and the landscape of baseball today. Before we end things here, but there's big rule changes coming for Major League Baseball, right? Everybody's talking about it. The shift is getting banned next year. Looks like the automatic ball and strike system is going to be inevitable at this point. I don't know if you got any experience with that in AAA, but what are your thoughts on kind of those two rules specifically and like the landscape of baseball in general?
You said the shift, and what was the other one you said?
The shift, and then the automatic ball strike system, which isn't confirmed yet, but I'm just saying it looks like it's on the horizon because they implemented it in AAA ball, at least Pacific Coast League. I don't know if they did in your AAA league.
Yeah. So, I mean, how would I put this? I mean, to be honest, like, regardless, we're just going to have to adjust, you know, like, right. So I'll start with the automated because for a guy like me, one of my biggest things, I'm a really good receiver and gaining strikes for a pitcher. That's been like one of my strong suits. But also I did like this year how they did it when we played in Charlotte it wasn't an automated strike zone all the time. It was you had 3 challenges, I think. So if you thought it was a strike, you tapped your head, catch it, and they literally puts it on the big screen, and it's
Right.
either a strike. So if it was a strike and I challenged it, for it to be a strike, then I keep my challenge and we can keep challenging. But if you lose that, then you lose your next challenge. So, and like I saw that series, that was the best series I saw our umpiring through the whole series, like how locked in they were, because I think they knew, I mean, everyone's a human, right? And everyone makes mistakes, but they knew they were going to have to be like held accountable right there in that situation. So they were super focused on that.
Yeah.
Again, baseball's been playing for 100 years, and like it's kind of funny. At some point, we like laugh about it, but we were like, all right, then what's the point of umpires? Like, we should just put lasers on all the bases and like see when you touch the pressure and it's an out. Like, I think there has to be that human error of.
Right.
It's a hard thing because you're saying like, there does have to be the human error, but then we're talking about millions of dollars that can cost somebody, like a human error. Like, I mean, you remember, what was his name? You remember Galarraga, the pitcher for the Tigers, the perfect game, dude. He was called
Classic.
safe, and it was an out. That cost him history. And nowadays, everyone makes mistakes, but that would have been an out. So,
yep.
And then, the shift, I loved when they were putting 3 infielders on left side of second base for me, and me taking my knock to second base. But no, dude, I mean, to me, it's like whatever, honestly. I saw the shift work and I saw the shift not work. Everyone can try to like make an excuse to something, but you're just going to have to adjust, because at the end of the day, that's way above my pay grade. And, you just you gotta play.
Yeah, you got to just play, man. I agree. And I think guys who aren't willing to take advantage when the defense has been shifting them and like slap that ball through the opposite way, it's kind of doesn't really make sense to me. So I don't know how that's going to affect the game. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, the human error part of baseball has always been a part of the game, and you got to keep it incorporated somehow. I would be interested to kind of see the challenge thing, as long as it doesn't take too long. You're saying they just toss up on the scoreboard and it's either a ball or a strike, and you just move on, huh?
Super, super fast. Yeah, it's like, and it has to be automatic. So also, like, if I'm hitting and let's say 3-2 count, he calls strike through, it has to be, I can't even step towards the dugout. I have to right away challenge and say, and then it's kind of funny, dude, because it kind of like, I would say shows the people up, because they put it in front of on this huge screen, dude. Like,
yeah.
And so if you're wrong, like the whole stand just loses their mind and starts booing every bit. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we can wrap it up. I really appreciate the conversation today, man. It's been great, and it's going to be great for more people to hear your story here and get this in front of our viewers and listeners. And just appreciate you coming on, man. I'm going to have to link up with you soon this off season, and just been super cool to watch you progress through your professional career, man. And like I said before, there's a lot of green grass in front of you, brother. So.
Cam, I appreciate you, bro. And, I love you and love your family, bro. So it's, again, it's just a start, these last 8 years to get to the point where I'm at. Now it's like those don't matter, and it's a literally new journey coming up. So I'm excited, excited for you to see it. And it'll be fun, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, keep trusting the process, keep your nose down. I know you got the right mentality. I mean, that's the right mindset to take, brother. You're right there. You're close, you're close to achieving everything you want. So love you too, dog. And I'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure. So appreciate you coming on Voyage, man.
All right, my brother.
All right, dude. Take care.
No, awesome. Let's blow it up. Later.
Later, dog.